Hi there, this is Eco Artist Ellie and I'm showing you another painting tutorial, this time for Procreate. So I wanted to show you the whole process that I went through, which was lots of sketching at the start, trying to make a decision on an idea that I really liked. You can see it took me a little while, but I always think that this kind of thing is really interesting to see. Here I'm refining the concept. So you can see now that I've decided to go for a single figure looking up towards a skyscraper city. And now I want to show you, this is the texture that I use. So it's a watercolour texture that I painted myself in different colours and then scanned in. I use it in black and white usually just because it means a more consistent effect when you overlay it or multiply it on a separate layer to give it more of a handmade look. So then the very next step is to select my next colours. You can see that I'm keeping most of it as a monotone palette, just with a couple of additions of complementary colours. That is just to draw the eye to the main figure, which is a really good way of using colour theory to make your images pop. So I'm keeping it pretty uniform except for her backpack, her skin tone and her hair, which is also a nice warm colour. So this picture is inspired by the city of Brisbane in Australia. It is a very blue, very warm city, so I wanted to replicate that in this image. So Brisbane is the capital of Queensland, the state, which is nearly 5 times the size of Japan and 7 times the size of Great Britain, which, as you can tell from my accent, is where I've spent most of my time growing up. Brisbane itself only has a population of 2.27 million people, but it's considered one of the world's most livable cities. And it's very pretty and it's very pleasant to live outside of, which is where I'm currently living, in the suburbs. There's lots of green spaces and the weather is very pleasant all year round, although it can get really humid and I'm not the biggest fan of the humidity. Now at the moment you can see that I'm refining everything, adding some detail, and a lot of this piece is sort of refined by more of those overlay sort of layers. So all these shadows, I fill them in with one block colour, and then when I hit the overlay mask options, it changes them into a colour that works better for shading. So that's what I did with buildings, and that's what I'm doing now with the figure as well. Brisbane is pretty close to the Great Barrier Reef. The beaches are amazing and you can really dive pretty close by and see really amazing sights. You get whale migrations next to the coast and you get lots of turtles, manta rays and of course famously sharks. You don't really get killed by stuff down here though, that's more far north Queensland where you get the crocs and jellies in the water all the time. I think that some of the most important stages for drawing are the final stages. The start and the end are really the most important things to get something convincing. Now, here I'm just going in and adding lots of detail to the buildings, making each one a little bit different. And this is a brush that you can find in Procreate, a water type effects brush. I was just playing around, I haven't really used it before this piece, but I thought that it would really add to it, and I do think that it does. It adds a little bit of something, it gives off the tropical impression that I think is important. And Brisbane's a city that has a big river running all the way through it, so the water reflection does sort of reflect the vibe of the city that I was trying to give off while I was doing this picture. These are more overlay layers. You're still really getting a lot of that texture underneath from the watercolour. Actually, realistically, it's probably a layer on top. And then the final touch was to add a bit of sunlight to finish off the piece. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this useful. Please let me know if it's helpful or if there's any other information that you'd like to learn when I'm doing these tutorials. Thank you so much again for your time and I hope you have a lovely day. Thanks so much. Bye.